Today on Always Ageless, we're sharing a story that reminds us what it truly means to keep living fully, no matter the number of candles on your birthday cake. Our guest today is Nan Free, a vibrant, curious, and determined woman in her early 80s who's still actively working as a real estate professional. But what makes her story so extraordinary isn't just her impressive career, it's her resilience. After surviving 3 strokes, she didn't slow down. In fact, she leaned in. From a past career in technical engineering to her current focus on helping seniors navigate their real estate and life transitions, Nan embodies what we believe in here at Always Ageless, that purpose and passion don't retire, they evolve. I'm so honored to introduce you to this phenomenal lady who's not just standing, she's still learning and working and thriving. Welcome to Always Ageless, Nan Free.
You. I'm really honored to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Well, Nan, before we start to get into your professional journey, take us back and tell us, what was your childhood like? What shaped your early view of life and of work?
You know, my dad was always very positive. I followed him. My mom was a commercial artist. She always in a home. So I had both parents as long as they were alive. So I think I had an advantage to that, having them guide me. I have an anecdote that happened when I was 15. I had to have surgery. And my dad took me to the doors of the hospital and said, get out, you go through those doors, turn to the left, go down to what says admission and go in. I had no clue what was going on. He was 95 when he passed away. And interestingly enough, maybe a year before he passed, he told me, he says, I have to apologize to you for something that happened years ago. And I said, what was that? And he says, when I dropped you off at the hospital that day to have your surgery, I should have gone in with you. And I said, no. I said, you know what? You taught me a lesson that I've never forgotten, that it's taught me that I'm independent. And I started learning that at a very young age. And independence has served me well. So that was my early childhood and you know, throughout my life until he was gone. And so then I became a teenager. I wanted to be a hairdresser. And okay, a hairdresser? I go, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. So I got a scholarship that my mom and dad told them I couldn't have it. And so when I was a mother with 2 children, I went back to school and got my cosmetology license. So
Interesting.
It's such a far cry when I tell people I was a software engineer. They're going, you're kidding me.
That's kind of what I thought.
Well, you know, most people don't think that cosmetologists have a brain. I'm sorry to say that, but I came from that industry and I know how people are treated. And we had to take chemistry and anatomy and all of those things to get where we were. So it wasn't like, you know, it just happened. So anyway, I did that for a while. I'm a musician. I taught piano for years, private children, little children, I should say. I have a varied interest. It's not always the same. When I was I was in an accident and I thought, well, I'm sitting here at home. I need to put my time to use. And I went back to college and got my software engineer degree. And so that, you know, it has evolved and I've loved everything I've done. I guess I'm really fortunate to do that because most people get stuck in the same job and they're not, you know, happy for how many years. But I always, when I became despondent on what I was doing, then I changed and it was fresh again. And I was in software engineering for almost 20 years. So then I retired from software engineering and I became a real estate agent. I've always had an interest in real estate. I bought and sold my own homes, and I just enjoyed it, and I haven't looked back. I had 3 strokes 2 years ago, and I had another stroke prior to that, so I've had 4 strokes.
Oh my.
And I'm walking. I have to tell you, I was pitching one of my listings in my association one day.
Sure.
Back and I says, well, I'm just getting back from having some strokes, and I said, as long as I'm walking and talking, I will sell real estate.
Well,
And
that's great.
that's kind of where I've been. I have a very positive attitude. I don't let things get me down. I don't get.
I can see that. Yeah.
It's, maybe it's a stupid thing.
I don't think so.
I really feel that I've been very blessed, for one, because I've regained most of what I lost. I came home from the hospital after my last strokes, and I play the piano. I sat down to play the piano. I couldn't read because I lost partial sight in one eye because of this.
Oh,
I couldn't coordinate to read music. I closed up the piano and did not go back for 2 years.
oh my.
Talked to my musician friends, and he said, "Are you still playing the ivory?" And I go, "No." And I explained it, and he said, "You need to just start small.
Right. One thing at a time.
Take your scales. Do just you don't."
Right. Twinkle, twinkle, little stars. Right.
And so I did that, and I thought, oh my gosh, I guess in that 2 year span, I learned to coordinate my eyesight where
that could be.
I read the music better. And so I have been practicing almost every day now. And so, I mean, I love what I do. And people have said, why don't you just retire? I think they don't like the company.
Well, that could be. Well, we're going to go back here a little bit. Let's go back because I'm curious what, especially the days when you were doing this, because I was a woman in business kind of at the same time. What inspired you to pursue a career in the technical field, especially at a time when I would guess most women weren't, except that there was probably a lot of aerospace in the area here in this area, right? But what inspired you to do that?
I was married to a man that was a mainframe at Mikado in Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
Home with a PC one day, and I said, okay, show me how to use it. He said, that's not my forte. He says, I don't know anything about PCs. You need to go back to school. You need to learn. And I thought, okay. So I went over to the local college, and I in a class in Lotus 123. And
oh, that's a word from the past.
It is. And the professor said, I have never met anybody as computer illiterate as you are.
Oh, well, he hadn't met me, so that's okay.
And that's really rude, but
very rude.
I was taking all of my classes, and he was the head of the department, and he was my teacher in many of the classes that I took. I ended up with a 4.0.
Oh, bless you.
And he said, I would never have guessed it from our initial meeting. So you can never second guess somebody because you don't know who they are.
Not at all. And shame on him.
That's how I started. I got my degree, and then I got rid of him, my husband.
Oh, your husband. Not your teacher, but your husband, right?
And then I married someone else, and he moved to Utah, like weeks after we got married. And
okay.
Well, if you want to come with me, come on. And I thought, beautiful wife. Okay. So I stopped working where I was and moved with him. And I started interviewing for technical jobs. My degree now. And I thought, this is something that I can do. And I loved it. I couldn't put it down. I guess
really?
That technology stuff must have been latent in me because it just came out full force.
It must have been. Did you have any specific mentors that inspired you to be in technology, or it just seemed natural to you? Were you always good in math and sciences?
Yes, I was always good. And it was like when I guess I got the real bug when I got the PC and started using it because I hadn't been exposed to that before.
Well, no, none of us had. Yeah,
I mean, this is back in the 80s.
right. Yeah,
And so I did my interviews and I got turned down at one point.
sure. Of course you did. Yeah.
I didn't have the experience behind it, but so I went to work for another company, and I maybe 6 months later, I got a call from that initial company that I had interviewed with, and they said we kept patient and your interview, and we would like to talk to you again.
Mm.
Fine. So that's how that transpired, and they hired me there, and I was there for all those years, and I was training people, and I love that too because the technology.
And may I ask, Nan, I have to ask, were you the only woman in your department?
Yes, it was a man's world.
Yes, it was.
Still is a lot, but that company has been dissolved into Pfizer, which
Oh,
is a company, but not Pfizer, but Pfizer.
so we know that not only did you have to be good at your skill, but you probably had to be better than everybody else because you had to keep up with your peer group, let's just call it that.
Yes, that's true.
Well, that's great. And was there a moment then when you decided to that made you pivot into real estate? What caused you to leave that field that you loved, working in technology, go into real estate?
I 55, and the company didn't like they. Well, when I left Utah, I moved back to California, and I told them I was leaving, and they said 10 minutes later they came back and asked me if I would work from home for them.
Whoa.
Twist my arm. And so that's how that got. They helped me to do what I wanted to do. And I had moved several times, no matter where I moved. I moved to Vegas. I can go wherever I want. I can do my job wherever I am. So it was very accommodating as well.
The real estate career was.
So the
The
soft
technology was.
they had me cut off at 65, and I knew it was coming. So
Uh,
okay, what I'm not done yet. What do I want to do? And I've always loved real estate. I go look at open houses all the time and that type of thing. So that was kind of a natural progression for me. And I took my classes before I was let go, and they let me go on February 28th. And on March the 6th, my license came through for real estate.
good for you.
So, I mean, it just fell into place. I was very fortunate.
And where were you living when you started your real estate career?
Long Beach.
Oh, you were back in California.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, good for you. So, what was your first year like? Because you and I know that selling real estate in the 80s or the 90s is still very different than it is now. So, what was your first year like? Do you remember your first sale, your first transaction?
I do, and I'm friends with them since they
Really?
sold that house that they bought, and they moved to Japan. But
Oh
they
my,
and a lot of my clients are like that. I kind of adopt them, and I love staying in touch with them, and we get together when they're here and what have you. It's very rewarding. Um,
yeah.
did very well. 6 weeks after I had my license, I had my first transaction. And
Wow.
because, I was putting in long hours during that time because I had a lot to learn.
Mhm.
Um, I think I was with Keller Williams, and they, the CEO had me as in the top 25 of the company in Long Beach for production. And I was really proud of that because I was older than anybody there, and I was always learning. I like a sponge. I'm always reading, or I don't read novels. I read technical stuff. So, yeah.
Well, how did your career in engineering and contract negotiation help you in your real estate?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. All right. Well, your
'Cause,
contract negotiation must have a little bit, though, didn't it? In
uh,
negotiating real estate transactions.
oh, absolutely. The real estate, yes, absolutely. And I have prided myself on being a good negotiator because I had a client a couple of years ago, and they wanted to give the seller an extra $5,000 just so they take the
Deal, the offer.
yeah. And I said, no, you don't need to do that. They have had nobody looking at their house. They, they don't need another $5,000, and they were worried that they were going to lose it. I said,
Mm.
promise you, this will not happen. And we can always renegotiate. So they were comfortable with that. And they kept $5,000 in their pocket. So it's, you have to know when you can, what do they fold them and whatever that is.
Yeah, when to fold and when to walk and run, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you've worked, I know, in a variety of fields of expertise. You've done investment properties, trusts, exchanges. Is there one part of this that you like more than another?
Um, Not really. I mean, residential, yes. Um, I've done the 1031s, I've done the investments, I've done all of that. Um, I just like working with regular people that, they're not difficult to work with. Most of my clients have been absolutely wonderful. And there's some that, I've walked because I didn't like the way I was being treated or my clients were being treated. And I gave my clients attention and we walked. So I feel like I got an intuitive manner with me that I really can feel what's going on with it.
Mhm.
Um,
And
whatever.
what's the right way to move forward with it, huh?
I question myself sometimes. I mean, I'm not the all knowing, but
Well, none of us are.
I do have a good sense for it.
So then what made you decide to specialize in serving seniors? And what have you learned from working with them?
Well, first of all, I am a senior, and I feel it was a very good match. I have had people, I think they trust me more, and they know that what I say is my word, and that to me is everything. I have my goal is to have senior seminars, and I haven't been able to get that off the ground yet until I met you, and then I'm being exposed to other avenues. So I thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. We'll work on that together this year. We both have that goal.
So that's what I've done.
Let's talk about your health, your resilience, your reinvention. You've survived, I thought it was three, and I've learned four strokes. That alone is extraordinary. Can you give us some idea of what that experience is like?
It was very scary. Um, the first stroke I had, I was in a doctor's office, and I told him I can't speak very well, and he was writing in his notebook. Closed the notebook, said, "You're just fine. I'll see you next year," and walked out the door. And I had no feeling on my left side of my and I couldn't speak. And his receptionist, when I went in, I signed in, and then she asked me, "What doctor are you here to see?" And I said, I couldn't speak. And she said, "Oh, that's okay. Go sit down." I guess she just thought I was stuttering. So I went home. I drove myself home. And that morning I had noticed my left side felt funny. But and I live alone, so I didn't speak to anybody. So I didn't know I couldn't speak. And a friend of mine called me and he said, I can't understand a word you're saying. I'm calling 911. And the paramedics came, and I still have a sense of humor, and I was joking with them, even though I couldn't speak very well. But they got me to the hospital, and they did all the tests and everything. And I did have some residual from that for a while. I had to go through speech therapy, etc. But this last time, I had 3 strokes. The one in my eye was the first that I knew of, and my neurologist came into the hospital and said, he was smiling. He says, guess what we just found? And I said, what? And he says, you had 2 other strokes besides the one in your eye. So that was all
No kidding,
at
right?
the same time. And so I've got some really good doctors that are working with me. And I still have some cognitive issues. Numbers are not my friend. That's not good for a realtor. But my broker has always been there for me. If I have questions, they are right there for me. So I feel more confident, in what I can do now.
So how did these health challenges affect your day-to-day life, both physically and emotionally? How did you handle that?
Because I am positive, and the doctors gave me therapy that I do. I crochet
Oh,
a lot. The doctor said that is the best therapy for what you've had, and I want you to continue to do that. So I've been making blankets like crazy, and then when the fires happened I had a whole trunk load of baby blankets I made. When the fires broke out in Palisades months ago, then for donations, I took all my baby blankets and donated them all, and then some other things that I had that I could give.
oh,
Felt that it wasn't for naught. There was
no.
maybe that's why I had the stroke. I always feel there's a reason for everything. And
Well, Nan, last week I was at an event of mostly realtors, but not all realtors who serve seniors, doing networking and learning. And there was a lady there who crocheted octopuses,
oh, yeah.
little octopuses. And so then she put them on the shelf for everyone. And of course, I brought home my orange octopus. So it was fun to see her do that. So I'll just show you what she makes, and she put little eyes on them. So you never know what you're going to do that later on is going to pay off and benefit somebody else. So did you have a support system? Did you have friends that helped you through these stroke episodes?
The man that called 911 that day, I've been friends with him for years. And he just got married in February. And I spent a week out in their desert house out there, and it was delightful. And, he said, you're never depressed. And I said, no, I'm not. Because it's a mindset. You make choices. And that's the choice. I prefer to be on the upside than the downside.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Well, what surprised you about yourself in the recovery process?
I listened to everything my doctor said and did everything I was told. And I think that's why I've come back as good as I have. I've got an excellent neurologist that has been working with me, and I've been trying to get into him for years, and he wasn't taking new patients. Well, because he was my doctor in the hospital, then when I called for the appointment, they said, "Oh no, you're with Doctor such and such," and I said, "Oh no," I said, "He treated me. I want to see him." So now he's my doctor, and he's phenomenal.
Oh, and I'm sure he loves being around you as well. Who wouldn't like being around someone who recovers so gracefully and is still so enthusiastic and refuses to give up? That would be pretty impressive, and the kind of person you'd love to have as a patient, I'm sure.
I don't go in there sick. I always go in with a sense of humor.
Sure, of course.
It benefits me. It benefits those I'm around. And nobody goes, oh no, here comes Nan, let's go.
No, 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 of course not. Of course not. Well, let's talk about your personality, what you do, your life. A lot of people would have understandably retired after all these experiences, but you've chosen to keep going. And some people, it was something I have to mention is that I think it's interesting when people introduce you or people our age, what we call ourselves as ageless, is they say, "Oh, she's 80." And I said, "All right, that's nice to know." Well, they mean it to be a compliment, right? But as we live longer, we're going to be 80 and 90, and who knows how long you and I will be working together, for a very long time. So you've chosen to keep going, and you surprise those around you, and they love being around you. So what keeps you going? Why have you chosen to keep working?
The satisfaction that I get from it, helping people. You know, my dad had his motto, so to speak, was, "I want to make a difference," and I have adopted that. After he passed, and that's what I want. I want to be able to make a difference in people's lives and make things easier for them, not harder.
And I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Well, what drives you to keep working? Not just physically, but why do you keep going?
You know, I took my granddaughter to lunch yesterday,
Yes, you did.
24 years old, and she said, "Grandma, I'm just like you. I can't stop doing things. I have to be doing something all the time." And it's not that uh, that I've got energy. I feel good, so why not? You know, I mean, doesn't it's a number. That's all it is.
It is.
Feel good, and then you've still got some life left in you, and you want to produce. Why not?
Good question. Good question. Why not? Why not? Well, you've certainly seen the industry change and the world. What's something that you're still learning today?
Oh my goodness, what am I still learning? I'm always learning, but um, you don't have to stay in a specific niche. You can branch out. I didn't do the senior specialist until probably 3 years ago, and I've been a senior a lot longer than that. So it's
Well,
like,
by somebody's definition, maybe not by yours.
right. And I thought, you know what, that would be good because here again, it goes along with I can make a difference for them, and I'm somebody that they can trust. I know that if I'm new to them, they have to. I have to provide that trust for them, but do what I do, and I say what I say, and I mean what I mean. So it's not, they don't know where I'm coming from ever. So I just, I don't know other than that.
But Nan, there must be days when you just think, maybe I've just done this long enough. Maybe there's days when the energy just isn't there. How do you keep yourself motivated and still going?
I gave myself permission. Um, Last year, I had a serious operation and I hemorrhaged a lot and lost a lot of blood. It took me, that was in June. I didn't feel like I was out of the woods until October.
Oh,
I had lost so much blood, I had no.
oh,
And the doctor said, you have to build your own blood now. We can't give you any more transfusions.
oh.
Ew. And so I was eating steak and stuff that I don't normally eat.
Mhm.
I did it because I knew it was better for me. And today I feel like I'm on top of the world. But I felt like a zombie all last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It was disconcerting because I don't equate with that.
No, that's not your nature to think that way.
So I had a taste of that, and I just plugged along. But I gave myself permission to not worry about real estate during that time. I gave myself permission to take the time off and heal myself, and now I'm back. So
And when you look back at your life, Nan, all you've gone through and all the different careers you've had, your work challenges, what are you most proud of? You've accomplished so many things.
You know, I really, I think my heart is still with the technology. Um, I have embraced AI. Last week, we did a vision board in our brokerage. And
Yes, we did.
I know that it takes so much time to go through a magazine and find the pictures that you want and go through Google Image. And
Mhm.
I went to AI and I created my own images that looked like me talking to seniors, and I put them on my vision board.
You did.
Yeah. And you know what? I
I
had
didn't know that.
doing that, I can't tell you. So it doesn't have to stop because I'm real estate. It's just enhanced my real estate. So I'm using all of that I know.
That's amazing. And yes, and I think it's fascinating, and I love the fact that you're still fascinated by AI, because some people are even younger than we are not as interested in AI and don't realize the impact that it has or the things that we can do. I mean, and it continues to get better. Even up until December, ChatGPT wasn't doing the graphics that it is now. The graphics are so much better than they were even in December when I tried to create a Christmas card. And now it's making action figures, right? We're
So
doing,
it's well, that I think that's my core value is that type of thing is I'm what do I want to say? I'm just technical
yeah.
and use that in anything I do except doing hair. I still cut my friend's hair once in a while.
Oh, do you?
But yeah, I keep my hand in it. I love
How
it.
fun.
Creative. And I'm very creative. And
Yes, you are.
that I can weave all of my things that I do together. Um, it's just fun.
We will have to show your vision board here on the video that goes with this program, because it's so fascinating. It's, first of all, it's beautiful. It's the prettiest vision board that I saw last week. Yours is so pretty. And the way that now you're telling me those figures, I would not have known that that part of that was AI. So, Nan, if someone comes up to you and says, and I'm sure you hear this just as I do, you know what, it's too late. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just tired. I'm ready to give it up. And I don't think, and I hear people say, I can't get hired for a job. I'm too old. My age, nobody wants me. Um, if you hear someone say that they think it's too late to start something new or even to stay engaged in their later years, what do you tell them? How do you motivate them?
It's interesting. I went to the dentist. He is now 76 or 78. I'm not sure. Still practicing. And I told him my story about my strokes and what have you, and I'm still doing real estate. And when I left, he says, "You have inspired me today.
Uh,
Everybody's telling me I need to retire. I don't want to retire. And after I talk to you, I'm not going to retire."
oh,
So, you do have an impact on people if you speak up. I told him, I said, "I'm being selfish here because I don't want you to go away."
of course not. Of course not. And I have people that come up to me and say, "Oh, I want to be like you when I grow up," or someone who will say, "Oh, my parents don't even do any technology, right? They don't, especially AI, and I wish my parents were more like you," whatever. So I can relate to that. If you could go back and give yourself some advice of the person that you were 40 years ago, what would that be? And would she have listened to you?
I have had that experience, and I did not listen to her at the time. I was very heavy. I weighed almost 300 pounds.
You did. Well, we wouldn't have known that. You look fabulous.
lost 145 pounds and have kept it off for 22 years. But I did what she told me to do. But I had young children when she told me about it. It was I had a gastric bypass surgery.
You did.
And the mortality rate was not a good number.
No,
And
not in those days. No.
small children, I could not take the chance of having something happen and leaving my children. So when I was 59 years old, I had it done. And I will never look back. It gave me a whole new lease on life. I've always been happy, but this is just, I feel more comfortable now in my skin, but I still think that. That's something I can't get out of my head. I don't know why. I'm learning to do, wear different clothes that accentuate my body now. But, that image is still there. So, but like I say, a friend of mine had it done and she says, you need to do this. And I thought, yeah. And I thought about it for years. But at 59, I thought I had some health issues and I'm not going to live long enough if I don't do something about it.
Well, bless your heart. That's quite an inspiring story. That's pretty amazing. So what's something else small, Nan, maybe even something silly that brings you joy these days? With all of your interests, all the things you like to do, what really gives you joy?
Game.
I'm sorry.
Play games like Scrabble. There's another one that's called Quiddler, and it's helped me to count again. I couldn't count in my brain. I have to write everything down, and I have trouble with math sometimes. And a friend of mine says, "Oh, come on, let's play this." Well, I have learned to be able to coordinate numbers and actually do it in my head. But it's been a process. So I mean, I just have a blast doing that with friends.
Yeah, I like board games. We'll have to get together some night and play some. That would be fun.
I've got it with me.
We'll have to do that. So you've seen technology evolve. I know you have seen technology evolve from typewriters. If you're like me, we had to carry our typewriter to school, our royal typewriter to school with us for typing lessons. And we had shorthand lessons, right? So we've gone from typewriters to smartphones to computers. What's a one innovation, Nan, that still amazes you?
The cell phone I love because it's with me all the time.
Yes.
I feel sad for the generation coming up because even my grandchildren, they're so involved with the phone constantly that they don't. And their grades are high. They're in their sports, and they're doing very well. But it's just there's no playtime like we used to have when we would go when we were kids. I mean,
Yep.
go after the ice truck and get the ice chips off the back of the truck. That's
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it makes things so much more convenient. I have a laptop, I have an iPad, the phone, another desk model. I mean, I've got it all, and I use them all for different reasons. And so it all goes back to technology.
It does. It does. Technology at some level, huh?
And when I started in the software business, there was internet a little bit, but it was so slow and laborious. It was terrible. And to see how that has evolved and where we have come from that, I'm thinking this is amazing. So I'm glad I've been part of that world.
And remember the first fax machines.
Oh, yes.
Right.
So the kids coming up now don't know how good they have it.
They don't. I know that's true. When people meet you, Nan, and I know everyone who meets you just is fascinated and loves your sparkle and your smile. And I was immediately attracted to you when I met you in the office in Long Beach. And when people hear your story and learn your age, what do they say to you? And how do you respond to it?
Most of the time, they don't know that I'm 81. Uh,
Yes, because you certainly don't appear to be that age.
that's one of the things I had, somebody asked me, what keeps you so young? And it was one of my son's friends. And I said, well, I never drank, I never smoked. And, and, and she said, oh, before that, she said, I want to be just like you said earlier. And when I said I didn't drink or smoke, and I said I eat healthy, she goes, well, that will never happen then, because she that was not interested. She wasn't interested in that. She wanted a planet. What is it, panacea? That
Oh, panacea, sure.
and I said, no, I said, you have to work at it. And I do. I exercise every day. I have a machine that oscillates and jiggles and all that stuff. And I use that every day. My son is a chiropractor. And he said he can tell when I come in for an adjustment if I've been on my machine or not.
Is
Because,
that right?
and he says, Mom, when I was sick last year, I couldn't do a lot of that. And I locked up, my body locked up. But thank goodness he's my son. So I have regular treatments every week.
Well, that's nice. That's a definite advantage. You must have a guilty pleasure. Is it ice cream, shopping?
Oh yeah, all of the above.
Mhm.
I don't have sugar very often because I'm diabetic, but I do indulge in myself periodically because then I don't feel deprived and then I don't go off the wagon, so to speak. Um, I love to shop, and I would treat myself after every transaction I have.
Of course, yeah.
Chico's, and I could open my own Chico store now. But I felt I'm a professional. I need to look like a professional, and that's normally how I dress. And so I figure I can go any place for any occasion, and I've got what I need. So that's been my downfall,
Your downfall is your shopping, huh?
my biggest one.
Well, that's all right. If they made a movie about your life, who would play you?
Oh my goodness, who would play me? You know who I would love to play me was oh, okay, what's her name? You got me on that one. I could see her in my vision. Um, she did Speed too. Speed. Um, or what I'd love to have is Julia Roberts.
Oh, sure. Yes, that we would all love to be Julie Roberts. Yeah.
So yeah, I love all her movies. So yeah.
How about Meryl Streep or Glenn Close, either of them?
Um, no, I mean they're good actors, but I just have always resonated um, with Julia Roberts. I mean, she's so down to earth. That's what I like about her, and the way she portrays the characters. And she always does such a good job. So, and she has the sense of humor and what have you. I like that. I
Yes.
want upbeat and
What would the title be of this movie?
okay. You won't believe it.
Well, that would be good. Yes, definitely. Do you surprise yourself? Are
Sometimes where I excel in things, and I mean I get such a kick out of closing a deal, and you have oppositions and what have you, and I always get that thrill every time I close a deal. I don't know what there is about it. It's the chase. I love the chase. I love the negotiating. It's just like in me to do that. So that's it.
so it would be you won't believe it. Are you ever surprised at what you've accomplished?
I'm surprised at how many different avenues I've traveled. One doesn't, they don't overlap. They're different in every way. And I think when I was young and just starting out working, I felt like, I was doing, I had a job and I didn't particularly like it or not, but I excelled. And I worked one place and I moved myself up to department head. And I thought, this is cool. But then somebody tried to keep knocking me down. And I thought, you know what? It's not worth it to have to deal with this every single day. And I quit and I went someplace else. And the manager of the company said, would you stay? And I said, not under these conditions. And so I went on and did something else. And I loved that as much as I did anything. So it's just been a progression. Why I thought of these things, I can't tell you.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's, there's things that are meant to be for us. And I believe that I just took the path that was put before me.
And obviously have done a great job with it. Well, I have to ask you, Nan, is there a piece of technology that you refuse to use? Or you
Tesla,
secretly wish it would go away?
the Teslas.
Teslas, is that right? Have you tried, do you drive a Tesla? Have you tried?
No, it seems that the people that drive them are so aggressive. What I found, it's almost a personality trait of the people that drive those cars. I mean, why I picked that out, it's just the things that have happened to me on the road.
It's interesting.
That impression.
That's so fascinating. Do you have that's fascinating. So I test drove a Tesla and I got out of the parking lot of the dealer and I couldn't deal. I didn't like that I couldn't stop it and press the gas or whatever it was. And and for me, now probably not for you, Nan, because you have a little bit more you can handle details better. But for me, having the keypad on the screen in front of me is way too distracting. Way too distracting. So I mean, we were about barely 30 seconds out. I got out of the car. I said, I'm done. I'm done. This is not the car for me. Give me my Prius back. Give me my Prius back that I can control and I can press the pedals.
And that's kind of the impression I got. And I have my friend that's in the desert has a Tesla out there, and he absolutely loves it. But you know what? And he's not the typical driver of a Tesla, but I've got such a negative toward that. I thought no. And it has nothing to do with politics. It's just I don't like the people that drive them.
Well, that's interesting. Do you have a favorite senior moment? Do you have something that you think about that you either maybe caused you to really laugh or something that related to your age or your accomplishment or your stage in life, I should say, that makes you laugh?
You know what makes me laugh is when I watch some of the things on the replays of Friends and
Sure.
Cheers. I mean,
Sure.
I can relate to some of that stuff, but I don't have anything that would just make me giggle on, in my own mind. Even though I have it. Well, let me tell you. Okay, I will tell you this. Do we have time on this? Just a few minutes.
We do. We do.
When I had my first stroke, the paramedics came in. All these hunks are in my dining room.
Sure.
And because, my sense of humor goes off the charts. And I said to them in a broken speech, I won't do it I'll just say what I said. But in something that was hard to understand, I said, if I had known that this is what it took to get all you good looking men in my house, I would have had done this a long time ago. And they all laughed.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did.
My sense of humor has served me well. And I think that's why, I mean, I have had a not so happy life in some things, but I've made lemonade out of lemons. And I think they've tempered me to who I am today. So it doesn't necessarily mean it was wrong at the time. It was served me well, and I've learned my lessons, and I've learned them well. So
What is the most, tell us, Nan, what's the most rebellious thing you've done recently?
recently,
Well,
uh,
or previously. Tell us something else that's interesting.
I was born and named Bonnie Jean. And when I was a year old, my mom said, "You don't look like a Bonnie Jean," and went to the court and changed my name to Nancy Ruth.
She did. My goodness.
And her name was Ruth, and where Nancy came from, I don't know. But when I was 14, I was rebellious. I didn't like Nancy. I didn't have a clue. I changed my name to Nan. And I thought, people, why are you doing that? I said, I don't, I wanted to be Bonnie. I don't want to be Nancy. So I went to get my passport one day, and the paperwork that comes with it is my birth certificate, the original birth certificate.
Sure.
The court addendum for name change. And the clerk went, "Oh, we don't need this." And he ripped it off and only kept my birth certificate. And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. That's who I am. That's on that piece of paper." So anyway, he changed it and what have you. But I think it was from rebellion of not wanting to be named Nancy. I didn't like to be called Nancy. I never did. I don't, and it took a while for even all the family to start calling me Nan.
Oh, is that right? How fun. Yeah. How funny.
Real estate sign said Nan free. I had people coming to my open houses saying, "We just came to see if that's really your name." I said, "Yeah, it is." Go figure.
That's interesting. So where are you? What is your future? What is your plan for the next 10 years? Will you be with us 10 years from now? We're still working in real estate. Will you be doing something different?
I think I would probably keep working as long as my health holds up. I'm healthy as an ox, so my dad was 95, played tennis till he was 90. So yeah, so as long as I feel like I am doing a service for someone, that I don't lose it to Alzheimer's or dementia or anything like that. God willing, and the creek don't rise. You say that. I have no intention of stopping. As long as I feel good, I've got the energy and the wherewithal to do it.
It has been a delight having you with us. This is exactly what we want to feature on Always Ageless. You are the perfect example of someone who we consider to be always ageless. You reminded us, Nan, that strength doesn't always roar, it often whispers, and it shows up anyway, and it just keeps going. And that's what you are. Your story is a powerful example of what it looks like to live with purpose, no matter your age, and no matter what obstacles life throws your way. You're an inspiration. So, all of our audience, the viewing audience, and the listening audience, may we all carry a little bit of Nan's spirit with us to stay curious, keep showing up, and never reaching for something always reaching, never stop reaching for something meaningful, I should say. To keep showing up and never stop reaching for something meaningful, because here at Always Ageless, age is just a number, but living life fully is forever. Remember, we are not old, we are bold. Living life fully is forever. Thank you, Nan Free, for being with us today. It was delightful, and we're so glad you were here. Thank you so much. We want to see you 5-10 years from now.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.